Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am so delighted to be with you here on this incredible Friday afternoon, evening, whatever you want to call it. I am so grateful that it's Friday. Anybody hear the TGIF? All right. Well, we are ready with some really great stories. And now the good news. So let's start with a really good story that just might make you cry. A Texas roadhouse cooks dog's last meal. Owner was blown away by the restaurant's care and taking. So there's the pictures. From Pennsylvania comes the story of a man who had made the most difficult decision to put his dog down. But what he couldn't believe was the send off he received from a local Texas roadhouse. Receiving a to go order with the note, last meal for our dog, the staff made sure it came through with the tender care of a dinner prepared by family for family. Months ago, Hunter Metzger from Ephrata, I probably said that wrong, my apologies, Pennsylvania, discovered that his 120-pound, 8-year-old Great Dane Iris had cancer. None of the treatments worked, and it was decided that the dog would be euthanized. Following the great poet's words, however, Metzger was determined not to let his beloved pooch go gently into the good night. The day before end, family and friends arrived for a party in her honor to feed Iris treats and shower her with affection. For dinner, Metzger got the idea to order a fat, juicy steak from Texas Roadhouse. He ordered an 8-ounce New York strip, steak fries, mashed potatoes with butter, typing out in the special instruction field. This is where it gets a little teary. Last meal for our dog. Please prepare with love. My to-go team actually saw the message Kate Weston, the kitchen manager for the restaurant, mentioned, and she said, I was like, oh my God, we need to make sure that this is the best meal we've ever made. When Metzger came to retrieve it, the whole staff came out to offer condolences, blowing him away. The receipt apologized for his loss, signed by members of the to-go and kitchen staff, and the to-go container had the words "made with love" written in red marker. Oh my goodness, it just blew us away, Metzger said. She was put down later that night, and the next morning I happened to check my emails and saw they had also refunded my meal. I know it's such a beautiful story, but man, can it get to the heart a little bit. Okay, well, moving on. Teens spend their date night leaving flowers and notes on cars at a hospital. How sweet is that? What started as a sweet date night idea for two high school seniors turned into a viral moment of kindness that's now touching hearts around the world. Lillian Vera and Ivan Jakubovich, both seniors at Southington High School in Connecticut, decided to celebrate their 4-month anniversary by lifting the spirits of strangers. Inspired by a video they saw on TikTok, the couple headed to Target to pick up flowers, pens, and note cards, not for each other, but for people going through tough times. They drove to Hartford Hospital and began placing flowers and handwritten, encouraging notes on the windshields of cars in the parking lot. The messages were simple but powerful. One step at a time, get better, and you'll get through this. They even gave extra flowers to the parking garage attendant before recording their thoughtful gesture and sharing the video on TikTok. The clip has since gone viral, spreading their message of compassion across the globe. Now, can you imagine coming out of the hospital after having something, found out your sibling is sick or somebody's been in an accident, and you come out and find this? Like, oh, that was very beautiful. I'll tell you, kids these days, they're truly, truly amazing. That's all I got to say about that. Okay, this story is really fun. And my producer, Deja, has a video for you. So I'm going to let her show you the video, and then I'll talk to you about exactly. This woman's tattoo is really remarkable. Chantel is a multimedia artist, tattoo apprenticed and self-proclaimed artsy crafty human. And once you see her arm, you'll understand why. Deja, can you give us the video? So here's the twist. She tattooed on her arm a blank easel. The easel isn't meant to stay blank. Chantel uses face paint to transform the tiny canvas whenever inspiration strikes. Maybe I need to play it. There we go. No, it's not. Oh, there we go. I mean, look at that. Have you ever seen anything like that? I haven't. I've got a few tattoos, but none that I can paint on. Hey, one day it might feature a famous painting, the next a cartoon, or even a scene from a movie she loves. The paint is temporary and washes off easily, allowing her to start fresh wherever she wants. It's a living, breathing art project right on her arm. It's amazing. She's painting with one arm. I'll tell you. One hand and such a small area as well. But man, she's painted some really cool things. Most of the news we get, we're getting from Good News Media and also from Sunny Skies. This one was from Sunny Skies. And of course, you can go on there and you can take a peek and see how there's a number of pictures of her tattoos. So, really a cool thing, very inspiring. I thought that was just a sweet, sweet story, and I couldn't resist. Well, here's one that's frankly a little bit almost unbelievable. It's a happy news story from Montreal, Canada, not far from where I live. A family is on a mission to find the stranger who saved 87-year-old Sabata Borelli's life after he went into cardiac arrest during a daily walk. On May 15th, around 3 p.m., he collapsed, likely near Jerry Park, while out for his usual walk. A passerby jumped into action, performing CPR on him for about 20 minutes until paramedics arrive. I don't know how many of you have done CPR, but it is hard work. And to maintain it for 20 minutes, whew, that is remarkable. Thanks to the efforts of this Good Samaritan, Borelli is alive and recovering in the hospital, where he recently celebrated his 87th birthday. His daughter, Gloria Borelli, is now trying to identify and thank the person who gave her more time with her father. This gentleman or woman or child, I don't know who saved my father. She said all they wanted was this person to have a chance, and he was given that chance. According to the American Heart Association and other medical authorities, for every minute that passes without CPR and defibrillation after cardiac arrest, the chance of survival decreases by about 7 to 10%. That's for every minute. That means quick action, especially performing CPR, can make a dramatic difference in whether someone lives or dies. Wow. Um, The emotional impact of the rescue runs deep for the Borelli family. Lucy Orfeo, Borelli's daughter-in-law, saw his recovery through a mix of hope and sorrow. Almost 3 years ago, her daughter Martina, his granddaughter, died suddenly at age 20 from a brain hemorrhage and cardiac arrest, despite being in an ambulance at the time. Now the stranger's life-saving act feels like a tribute to Martina, who is known for her compassion and positive spirit. Oh. I'll tell you, I hope they find whoever this beautiful person is, because I'll tell you, 20 minutes of CPR, holy moly, that is a tough, tough job. Okay, students decipher the title of burnt scroll from the famous library buried by Vesuvius called On Vices. Look at that. That's very cool. The title of a 2,000-year-old Greek philosophical text has been read by computer scientists using AI to study scrolls buried by the eruption of Vesuvius. On Vices was written by Philodemus, a Greek philosopher who lived at Pompeii nearly 200 years before Vesuvius' eruption. And several centuries after the life of Epicurus, a prominent Athenian thinker whose ideas have been discovered among the scrolls before, had around, tripping over my tongue here, around 800 unreadable papyri were found more than 200 years ago by farmers in the ruins, and the city was destroyed by the Vesuvius eruption in a villa that may have belonged to Julius Caesar's father-in-law. Cool. Uh, GNN, the Good News Network, has previously reported on the initiative called the Vesuvius Challenge, organized by Silicon Valley, who offered a total of $1 million in prizes to anyone who could map out the words on the husks of papyrus charred into obscurity by the volcano. Prizes were given out in 23-24 to Julian, a Swiss robotics student at ETH Zurich, who enabled the 3D mapping of the scroll. Ooh, that's a nice little prize. I wish I'd had the opportunity to do it myself. Wait a minute. I don't think I could do that. Anyway, we're going to take a brief little commercial break. You're watching And Now the Good News on the New Thought Media Network, and we're going to be back in just a minute, so don't go away.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And we're back. Oh, so this is a great story. The existence and consumption of coffee has many advantages in human society, but perhaps the lesser reported advantage is that it can offer what it can offer the environment. What is wrong with my words tonight? There is arguably no other monocrop so capable of thriving in an intact natural ecosystem, and in Ethiopia, where coffee is a major export, the adoption of climate-compatible and conservation strategies among coffee growers recently proved a major success. With over 5,000 acres of land reforested, 45% increases in household income, yay, and a 70% increase in exported coffee. Coffee is a major lifeblood of Ethiopia's economy, accounting for around half of the livelihood of 15 million people, 95% of whom are small landholding growers. In the ecologically critical Ilu Abidar zone of nation's western region of Oromia, where coffee arabica is native, Farm Africa led a project on sustainable agriculture among coffee growers inside 19 local forest management cooperatives, totaling about 4,000 people between 2021 and 2024. The results were better than a hot cup of coffee on a cold early morning, as the residents took to the skills, incentives, and even stakeholder meetings with great interest and dedication. And that was according to a report on the project entitled Coffee for Conversation. Of the project aims regarding forest management and conservation, the objective was to instruct the landholders and growers in ways to get everything they needed from their forest homes without felling too many native trees. For example, locals were shown how to cultivate fast growing trees optimal for firewood in small plots, as well as methods on how to maximize the growth cycle of these fuel trees. 6 tree nurseries were opened and staffed by around 60 people taught to sell seedlings for reforestation of native woodland in the area. By the end of the project, over 300,000 seedlings had been planted over 5,000 acres of forest, and they enjoyed a 5-year survival rate of 85%. Climate smart practices, such as cultivating bamboo for making the mats on which the coffee beans are dried, removed the need to truck in bamboo from other regions, while 66% of homes were able to be convinced to switch to energy efficient wood stoves to reduce fuel consumption. Most of the landholders growing coffee are managing the forest had plots for vegetable and fruit production to feed their families and those of their communities through trade. Percentages of these Ethiopians who adopted climate smart farming techniques increased from 49% to 76%, while 10% more began growing fruit and vegetables. Income generated from the increased production amounted to around 280% more than what was made before the project adjusted for inflation. Woo, go get yourself a cup of coffee. This is like super good news. Environmentally, humanity, it's all the way around good news. So I love that. Okay, surgeons, those good guys that keep us moving. So surgeons at UCLA have done the first human bladder transplant. Wow. The attempt has been 4 years in the making. There are naturally many unknowns associated with the procedure, which has previously only been done on cadavers, such as how well the transplanted bladder will function immediately and over time. Bladder transplants have not been done previously, in part because of the complicated vascular structure of the pelvic area and the technical complexity of the procedure. However, urine drained immediately into the new bladder, and the patient's kidney, which also had to be replaced, needed no postoperative dialysis. The two worked in perfect tandem. I'll tell you, this man must be thrilled, the surgeon and the patient. Whoa, that's great news. My father had bladder cancer, luckily got over it, but can you imagine, if you needed that? Good news. Good news all the way around. All right, here's a very sweet story. A refugee makes history by becoming British ambassador. I'll tell you, that's pretty good. An Iranian-born British lawyer has made history as the UK's first High Commissioner to come to the country as a refugee, fleeing the post-revolutionary landscape to arrive in Great Britain without a word of English on his lips. Kanbar Hussein Bar admitted his mother was rather nervous when she first heard he was planning to join the Foreign Office, equivalent to United States Department. In her mind, this was a bastion of the establishment. She was a little worried of rejection, he told The Guardian, adding that her base fear was that he wasn't English enough. Born to a Balochi family in the trinational landscape of the arid southeastern of Iran, where the country shares a border with Afghanistan and Balakistan. His mother fled to the UK, and Canberra had to be smuggled eastward across the Asian landscape en route to France and eventually England to start a new life in the quiet seaside town of Southampton, far from the rural classrooms where he grew up chanting "Death to America" and "Israeli" with his classmates. Wow, it's awful to hear that. Now he becomes the first refugee to hold a position of High Commissioner, a senior UK diplomat who acts as ambassador to other Commonwealth nations. If anyone ever told you there's something you can't do, maybe show them this story, because I'll tell you, with a can-do attitude, you can do anything. Well, this is a terrific story. Seizures had banned this man from swimming, so he saves a drowning girl with his drone. From Pensacola comes the story of an improvised rescue that saved the life of a teenage girl who was caught in a riptide. A seizure-prone fisherman used his specialized drone to lower a life preserver into the water, allowing her to rest and recover enough to fight the tide and stay above water. The girl's father called the man a guardian angel, and witnesses described it as a true act of humanity. Pensacola shark fisherman Andrew Smith had just clocked out of work last Thursday when a friend convinced him to come back out. Arriving on the beach, a woman came running up to him and asked if he and the others nearby could swim. Smith replied he could not. However, the victim's lucky stars were shining down that sunny day as the incident happened right within his reach, meaning that Smith had brought along his drone. Great luck. So he sent the drone out with the life preserver and got her back. Pardon me. I'll tell you, that is an awesome story. And sometimes we look at technology and stuff and we wonder, is it all worthwhile? But I think maybe some of it is. That was wonderful. Okay, so here's a great story as well. We know that there's been a lot of loneliness in our world since COVID, since we separated. I think it's caused a lot of us to stay separated. And of course, we're online doing our studies or going to our churches or whatever. There's still a lot of online activity. And this is a wonderful, heartwarming story. This man will listen to you talk about anything. He won't charge a dime and is coming to a town near you. A former social worker in Canada is enjoying his entire retirement in a very similar way to how he enjoyed his long career, by listening to people. Likening it to being a stranger on the airplane in the seat next to you, Paul Jenkinson is currently on a cross-Canada tour where he shows up, sits down, and listens to anyone and about anything. Good listening is a skill rarely found in the world, and during a career as a registered social worker in Nova Scotia and spokesperson for Advocates for Care of the Elderly, it was part of the job description. I will listen isn't an event. It's just 2 folding chairs as a wooden coffee table, but it is coming to a town near you. I'm there as a fellow human to make connections. I just created the safe place for them, a little bit like a stranger on the airplane that you're never going to see again. How many people do you know who'd love someone that isn't a therapist or a family member to just sit down and talk to? I think they're curious for sure. Who is this older man? He said. People go back and forth a few times, getting some courage to come and sit down. He added that it's not all lost. Students and recovering addicts, sometimes people want to come express the things they're proud of or for the good deeds they've performed, including volunteering for others, just like Jenkinson. There's no timeline, no topics are barred, no charge, and no pressure, as well as a promise to keep everything confidential unless the speaker expresses the intention to harm themselves or others. Oh, and he doesn't have a home. Jenkinson isn't destitute. He's a transient with financial means and will come anywhere he's invited. At the moment, he's in Nova Scotia, the next stop being Prince Edward Island, and a loosely conceived plan to be in British Columbia by winter. Wow, that is a great, great story. And I've got one more terrific story for you. This dry cleaner gives away his services to unemployed folks headed to job interviews and says just pay it forward. How great is that? The owner of a California dry cleaner is showing those down on their luck that the community wants them to succeed. So he's ensuring they look their best as they get ready for the next big break. After talking to fellow owners of dry cleaners about how they could give something back to the community, he decided to offer speedy cleaning and pressing of clothes for free to any unemployed customer heading to a job interview. At Lux Cleaning and Alterations on 1610 West Campbell in San Jose, owner Ali says the pro bono work is about fulfilling his long held ambition to infuse his career with acts of kindness. And you can do that too. Yes, you can. I think it will definitely give them some hope that the community they live in cares about them, he told the San Jose Spotlight. It's not about just getting, it's about giving. That's the part that brings all of us joy. Immigrating to the United States from Iran in 1986, Ali wasn't sure where he'd find work, even though he possessed a degree in molecular biology. When no white-collar career opportunities came knocking, he started Lux Cleaners, which became a super successful business in the Silicon Valley. He says that about 5 to 10 people a week arrive to take advantage of his generosity. Spotlight reports that just recently a woman came to him for a shirt pressing en route to a tech company interview, and afterwards she stopped by to tell him that she got the job. All before leaving a 5-star Yelp review saying, I definitely felt the love of my community. Ali said he and his team were more excited than she was. Well, everybody, another week, another great Friday, another beautiful opportunity to practice acts of kindness, senseless beauty. There's so much we can do in our world, and all we have to do is make the choice, make the decision. There's power in our decisions. Deciding to do nothing is still a decision. So I invite you to think about what you can do for a neighbor, a stranger on the street, maybe someone you work with that you see is having a difficulty, and maybe invite this incredible gentleman who sits and listens to your town so that, I'm not sure. If you're in the US, he may or may not want to come there, but if you're in Canada, for sure, he'll come and see you. This journey that we're all on is one that we're on together. And as we really remember our oneness, as we really remember the connection that we all have, what we soon discover is that by helping others, we have, in fact, helped ourselves. So have a wonderful, beautiful weekend. I send you love and praise from Barbara Jean here in Canada. And just know that we'll be back here again next week with a whole lot more good news. And now the good news says, au revoir for today. See you next time. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Don't want to forget that part. Good night.